because I agree with Tracy. What if you go on first and the county pukes on it and wants to see changes, and now we don't have time? Yeah.
And that way you don't have to really have it perfect for the work meeting. You can just go, this is what I was
How
thinking.
difficult will we get it to have it ready?
By the 18th?
No, by the
25th?
7th, when we have to be the
Once you adopt the resolution, that's really all I need.
Okay.
That gives me the things I need to put the lieutenant governor on notice and get their certificate. We got the resolution, we'll put it on the ballot.
So that, all you have to provide him at that point is the resolution and the bond, the actual bond language. You don't have to do the pros and cons or the supporting, all that comes later.
That all comes later. Yeah, and that, is something, I could bore you to death on that, but that will start soon after.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Preliminary
we
step.
know kind of the pro and con and the rebuttal and all that stuff.
And we can
There's
either
a
draft it,
schedule
or
for
we
it.
can have someone else. If we draft it, it has to be neutral, right? Or we can get a third
Well,
party to do it. Or
the county will need to write a pro. Someone at the county will need to write the pro. And then there's an opportunity for someone to write a con. If there's more than one, then the county could designate one person to write the con.
And Brent's done that before, so I'm just saying he's really aware of all that, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Do you have a strong, organized opposition?
Not really,
Not yet.
not really. Very unorganized on Facebook, but nothing really.
So David Robertson, will he initiate that research in terms of the tax impact, and he'll
Yeah.
contact our assessor's office? Okay.
Because we have had some confusion about the number.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I haven't seen any preliminary, I haven't talked to David about it, but he knows the drill. And so I will talk to him after this meeting, report back and say, it's time for you to work out the tax impact. What he'll need from you is it 15 million, is it 10 million, and is it 21 years, 20, you can go to 30 years if you want. I mean, conservation easements don't have a loss of value, what I'm trying to say, useful life, shelf life. So
Actually,
you could go longer if you wanted.
the longer we spread it out,
The lower the tax.
the lower the
Tax impact.
Yeah.
Plus, in 20 years, there's going to be double the people to pay for it, so it almost makes sense to put it out further when more people will be, they'll be appreciating the effort 20 years from now a lot more than they are right now too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it's more crowded in 20 years, they're going to be going, whoever thought of this was...
Yeah, I think that
So they might be more apt to...
David will run whatever sets. You could show you a 20-year amortization,
Okay.
a 30-year, and then let you kind of see the tax
Well, what if we just...
sensitivity analysis to that.
Then that makes me go, well, let's do 15 million, but spread it out over 30 years. I mean, wouldn't that make you want to go get that 15 then?
Yeah, but we still got the 10-year.
Right, but what if we're extremely successful? Which, just in the last 6 months, there's been a lot going on of people getting educated in the community on this. I don't know.
Where we're pulling
We might
out
be sorry
increments
we
of
didn't.
5 million. We have to state the total value, the total impact on the total bonded amount, right?
Yeah,
Not just the
whatever you
draw.
say is your maximum amount, you're going to
Okay.
have to first put in the total tax impact on that. We can't go on to say, hey, we want, the plan is
That won't
to
be
do
all at once.
increments
Yeah.
And we have to produce, we have to be successful to get any more. It's not an automatic allocation of money. We've got to...
I think we'd be better off going the 10 million on the 10-year, and then spreading out for 30 years in $5 million increments to get the base rate down.
Can you figure out the numbers for both? I
Oh,
mean, can we look at that?
Yeah.
Because I mean, honestly, if it's
Pretty simple
$5 difference for people,
Yeah, I think what David,
You know.
you might want David to run $10 million at 20 years and 30-year amortizations,
Yeah.
and to run $15 million at 20-year and 30-year amortizations. And that'll be easy, that's a spreadsheet. Once he's got that
That would be a
uploaded with
good
the
thing to
values.
see, don't you
with the
think? Just
county.
to compare how much money we're really talking about we're saving people.
Yeah, if it's only a $5 difference, 20 versus 30, but you're paying a lot, I mean, you're gonna pay way more interest, right?
I think the majority of them are gonna work, what is it gonna cost me on my tax bill right now?
Is there a way to calculate the projected population in 20 years and put that in the equation of saying, look, you know, I mean, that's what everybody says, as we grow, it's gonna be,
You can put
your
that-
taxes are gonna go down,
Yeah,
but
It's lower down.
You could add that into the rest of the story part of the ballot. But I suspect, in my experience, you probably would prefer to put that in your voter information pamphlet, if at all. That
But
would be
you
the
can-
place. But you can
But
do
you
that.
can figure out what those numbers
Oh,
would
yeah,
be for
David-
us.
David will be able to say if growth, it's growth in value, not necessarily people, it's just growth in.
Assessed valuation of the
valuation.
county.
And that, you know, if the county
Jordan
grows, if the county continues to grow at X percent over the next 10 years, here's what the tax impact will be at that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I think, my goodness, even just what's happening up at Jordanelle in the next 10 years,
Yeah.
it's gonna change the assessed valuation, like,
In a big way, yeah.
and so if there's a way to say, you know, first 5 years, we're only using 5 million of this, so,
You could
and
think
then
about.
as we grow, we might go after more.
Yeah, you could think about, I don't know where you're at with the county, I mean, some of the things you're talking about, like, based on the success, help me know what that means. You would issue another, how would you define success of the program?
That's your department, Justin.
When we was able to match, get other matching grants.
Okay.
and-
Leverage.
And whether it was the amount of acreage we were able to get under conservation easement.
Okay.
The amount of participation, really, because it's an opt-in voluntary thing.
Yeah, we don't want this to be seen as a
Taking.
bonanza flats type approach where we're just wholesale buying up land. That's not our goal. The idea is to try to use this as a catalyst to involve others, you know. So at least what we've been told by Hughes Open Lands and others is that, you know, in order for us to be able to access certain state and federal grants, there has to be participation on the local municipal level. And so the idea is that by getting involved at this level, we're sort of priming the pump, and others will become involved. So if we can spend, you know, if we're, you know, locking up a lot of acreage, you know, large amounts of acreage as open space with very little money invested, you know, because private owners are coming forward or landowners are, you know, availing themselves of the tax benefits that come with conservation easements, and that I think is where that would be considered a success by the county council. At least
Let me describe just a little bit to consider on these restrictions or definition of success. If the county, in its voter information pamphlet or in its resolution, says we won't issue another 5 million unless X, Y, Z, they'll be bound to that. And there
Right.
could be
We
a
haven't said
diminishing,
anything like that.
and there could be a diminishing return because of the complexity of that in its value. Does that make me, as you
Yeah,
talk?
and I don't think we had any intention of putting those kind of criteria in the bond wording.
Good.
It's more of our rules and bylaws and what we're doing outside.
Sounds good. That helps me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, very careful.
I'd get nervous about
Now, putting
trying to
some,
solicit a vote
benchmarks
by putting
on
in,
it.
that you might say, dang, we were like 1 penny away from hitting this leverage mark or whatever.
Yeah, no.
But once it goes into the county's authorization,
We're on the same page.
Okay.
I keep
Yeah.
insisting that we not bind
Good.
ourselves to anything.
well, you're good.
well, and plus, I mean, as we go for this money, we've been working on this for the last 2-3 years. So we're hoping that if this passes, that we have identified properties, we have identified grant money, we've already got that, a lot of that ready to go. So it's not like we're sitting back for 2-3 years going, okay, we better start working on something. so we're hoping to come out of the gate okay, that, on that first 5. But, you know, time is of the essence, but.
And then, and I realize I haven't even let you ask questions yet, but my other thing that I think is worth just addressing quickly is the fact that Midway is going forward at the same time. You talked about that. Their financial advisor may be different than the financial advisor with David Robertson. I don't know. But financial advisor oftentimes will tend to help drive what goes into their voter information pamphlets. So it would be good to, I mean, I just can't imagine a successful election for either group if you don't account for that in some manner.
Yeah, they're using, they've got a group lined up. Who are they using again? It's
George K. Baum, is that
yeah,
Kelly Murdoch?
Yeah, they're using
Well,
yeah,
I thought that's who they had.
It's go back and do it. Similar to me, I've been working with them for a couple of years, and then they decided they can go through a formal RFP process, which is fine. Just wish we would have done that last year when I started doing all the work for them. But I think that's the same thing on RFP. So they've been using George K. Baum.
Right.
I understand.
Well, I went to one of their meetings and they did a presentation.
Kelly Murdoch probably.
Yeah,
They already had numbers and everything. I mean, there were numbers in the newspaper article, and they've been posting numbers for a while.
But I think, like Randy said, they're back now. They're looking for fun. They've got an ad in the way right now for a financial advisor.
Those are due tomorrow, so it may very well be George K. Baum. But whoever it is will want to, and I know both. I work well with both, so I don't want you to think that it's that big of a deal.
But I do need to coordinate.
We want to coordinate.
We were hoping Midway just wouldn't, I guess it's recorded, but we were hoping they would not pursue a bond this year.
Oh, really?
And we sort of got involved to try to convince them not to, but it didn't work out. So they decided to pursue anyway, and I think they're going after $5 million, right?
That's what I've heard.
And it is.
And Cortland Nelson, who's on our board, is very involved.
I've met Cortland. So I've been in a meeting where he did a really nice job kind of summarizing the pieces. So.
And they've been very detailed. Their bond and their goals are a little bit different than ours, for sure. I met with Cortland 2 weeks ago because he knew he was going to miss this meeting, just to kind of get his input on criteria and what they're doing. And the Midway bond, I mean, they're a lot more focused on recreational spaces. Everything we've talked about here, limiting yourself and providing to.
Yeah, theirs is more detailed.
Theirs is very detailed because they're trying to, the approach they're taking, I think, is they're trying to garner public support by touching on all of the various issues that might be hot button issues for
they've done a survey.
individuals. They've done their survey.
They've done
So they're
3 surveys.
Yeah, they're trying to select.
They've got their commentary, and so somebody says, well, I really want more jogging paths. They're like, well, this is a bond for jogging paths. And then somebody says, well, I'm more worried about locking up farmland. Well, this is a bond for farmland. So they've got, you know, this broad, I think they'll be all right, but it's a very different approach to what we've taken here.
And it is concerning. I mean, you know, to have 2 bond elections that cross over jurisdictions.
Sure.
You know, but you can always do another election. You know, I mean, there's history for that too. So.
Yeah, for Midway City, at least, there's going to be
A more specific
cost, increased cost.
Yeah, exactly. And the tax impact will show that. There'll be a
Right.
tax impact for Midway residents, and they'll just need to add that
Right.
to what the county.
Right. Yeah, and theirs will be much higher. It's $5 million.
They don't spread it as far. There's not across as much valuation.
And we get $10 million across the entire county. So our takes, I mean, if anything, there's, you know, in a sense, and that was with Cortland on this too, I think, in a sense, their bond makes our bond look better because the tax impact is so much lower, but it's a larger number. So if somebody in Midway just glances at it and thinks one or the other, they're going to think, well, I'm going to take the $10 million bond that costs me less money rather than the $5 million bond that costs me, you know, 4 times as much, or whatever. If you're just going purely on math, but you know, this is an issue that
They're on the same deadline as you, so
Mhm.
they need to adopt and get their stuff done by August 7th as well.
they're probably a step ahead. They've already adopted a resolution.
I thought
Just a
they
message.
hadn't
They haven't
passed
done the
it.
resolution
They
for
haven't
election.
even passed it that they're putting it on the ballot yet.
But they have it all drafted, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, but
It's
I
already
think
good.
I
their
drafted it for
motion,
them,
Oh,
so
they-
they've got-
their motion was to just pursue it. I thought was the last motion they made. So
I
they
thought-
haven't,
I thought Cortland told me it just passed.
It passed.
That's what I
when,
thought.
last week?
No,
Or-
last month, they agreed to put $5 million on the ballot.
Oh,
So they
okay.
took action to do
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
They're in the
okay.
same boat, they've got to go through the statutory piece.
All right.
Sure.
I was thinking they were still
No,
talking
no.
about it.
No, the council agreed to put it on.
And just be, I mean, just for understanding, there, I don't know how that would be a conflict. Potentially, someone could not vote for the resolution calling the election, and that would be a problem, even though the council has taken action to put it on. Does that make sense? I mean, you probably can handle that, say, guys, but just be
We've
aware
already
that.
been down this road too
Yeah.
far.
Well, and then on the
Does
county
that make
level,
sense? That
yeah.
you know, there, it will require an approving vote.
Mhm.
We don't have the 2/3 because this is an election year
Yeah,
for the county, so it doesn't have to be the 2/3.
That's important because we were
4 to 3.
4-3. Although we may swing someone around by going down to 10 million and getting real numbers. I think our numbers were way off based on what Baum came up with for Midway City. We were showing a higher number.
Who calculated those for you? Do you know?
I did.
We
I
were
mean,
kind of
I
shooting
just
off
took
the
what
head.
the fire was having to pay for $1 million.
Got it. Yeah, see how David comes up, see if that checks out.
Oh, it's much less. We had him calculated.
Afterwards.
Yeah, we were basing on $9 per million, and he came up with $4.16 a million.
Do you need anything else from us then before you get started on drafting
No, I
this?
will go ahead and start drafting.
You want
Can
our
you send
draft?
to me?
I'll send you that later.
And then
That's what we
you
have.
can put it on the
That's just my PowerPoint presentation
18th
from.
I'm trying to get on.
meeting.
He was in the county, but it has that
Yeah.
draft bond language you can.
So I'll have a draft out to you by early next week.
Okay.
You could use that on the 18th for the work session. And at the same time, we'll want to really dig into it about, you know, what, besides what's required by statute, what might we want to add to the ballot? You know, about the $5 million increments or different pieces.
We need to. And then the different lengths of the bond, you know, the 20-year bond, the 30-year bond.
Parameters. that-
And then the population in 15, 20 years or whatever,
I
just
can help you with that. I'm sure you guys have
valuation,
that,
I
but
should
can-
say,
Well,
yeah.
we go on the
The assessed.
valuation of them.
It's easy, yeah, because what happens
Yeah,
once
we could
David
just
gets the,
project Jordan Elk.
once Lewis Young gets the spreadsheet, then it has inputs.
Okay.
Value, you could grow it at a rate, you could interest rate, amortization, and Justin's right. I mean, it won't be like going from 20 years to 30 years will give you a 1/3 reduction because your interest is going to go up. Does that make
Continues to
sense?
add. yeah.
So it may not be as
Amortized.
dramatic as you
Yeah.
think, but
Right.
it's certainly something you want to look at and see.
And maybe, I mean, selfishly, maybe we only want the 20-year bond, just so we're not paying that much more interest, you know? Like, if it were me buying a house and I could do a 20 versus a 30.
Yeah, but if there were people moving into the community that were gonna help you pay for that house over 30 years, you'd be like, well, let's push this out to 30
Let's
years
see the
because there's more,
numbers.
exactly.
Yeah.
The nice part is
That's
that
all
your
I'm trying
your
to say is-
conservation easements will never expire.
Yeah.
Right.
You wouldn't want to do roads for 30 years, right?
Right, because
You'll have
you'll need to
build
do them
3
again.
times,
Yeah,
Paying interest on it, but.
right,
They only do them in 10 years.
yeah.
CIB will only do them in 10.
That's right.
Okay, well, thanks.
So-
Sir, do you have anything, Steve?
Yeah, I was gonna,
I just don't want to keep them.
Should we attend that work session next week?
The
let
18th.
me see if it's gonna be a work session. We ought to, if we get that, we ought to do it regardless of work session or not.
Yeah,
Get
we,
it out so we can look at it. on
so
August
if there's a
1st.
snag, we still have one more meeting to get it
Yeah.
That's,
cleaned
yeah, I
up.
think Tracy had a good point on that, because you'd hate to go to your council they demand a change to get it through, and you're boxed.
Yeah.
You have the
Or
ability
it's
always
in-
to do a special meeting, you know.
Yeah, but
But if I'm
it
voting
just
against,
gives
I
us
might
a
say,
little-
oh, I don't have
And the
time.
sooner the better as far as our website and our information, all that stuff, so
Well,
if
the
we need
18th
an
is a
extra
week from
one,
tomorrow, so we got some work to do, right?
right,
I'll have a draft out to you by
That's great.
Monday.
next week,
Okay.
awesome,
It'll be rough, it'll be
We'll-
bracketed, but at least gives you things.
Okay,
thank you.
Okay.
that's great.
Well, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I was just saying
Again,
it
I
to you
don't-
right now, but it's going too slow.
So, I don't have a good signal
My
down here all
hotspot's
the
not
time.
very good right now, yeah.
Yeah, I've been down here for meetings and
It's-
sitting in the back and like, come on, come on.
I know.
Thanks for your time.
Great, thanks.
Well, thank you.
Other
Yeah.
questions will come up. So Steve knows how to find me. You got my cards now, and that's common to have a lot of back and forth.
Okay.
Great, thanks a bunch.
Thanks, Randy.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Randy.
Good to see you.
Take care.
Right. All right.
Well, that was key.